Hey there, using generative AI cohort 1. I hope you're doing well. I hope this morning has found you enjoying the cooler weather and that you've had a good week. That you've started off with the first half of Module 1, Lessons 1 and 2, and starting to get that firm foundation for those of you that may not be as familiar with generative AI and the kinds of things it's already touching that you may have been experiencing you didn't even know. So anyway, really loved so far, loved the introductions you guys have done, loved your reflective journal entries have been great too. So I'm seeing a lot more in this group. Our last group that went through, they weren't quite as. A lot of you are fairly open to trying stuff, and I think that's good. You're also very open and frank about your concerns too, which is also good. We want to have those discussions. One of the questions that came through in the reflection is, how do we start to think about, you like the use of it. How do we think about, helping our students, not cheat using it or whatnot, right? And I think it all starts with expectation. You need to be explicit in your syllabus about its use. So, for instance, the academic honesty and academic dishonesty policy for the university is kind of your umbrella mechanism. And when they use it to cheat, that is academically dishonest behavior. And so that's where we go. So in your syllabus, you need to make sure that unless otherwise instructed, right, do not use tools like ChatGPT to create your activities or whatever. You come up with the expectation for your students that's the best, whether it's a complete no, whether it's somewhat available. Like for instance, maybe for some of you, as long as the work is original, you can use GPT to kind of smooth it out. That's up to you. You decide how you want to have those types of things with your students. But the other side of that is effective assessment practices, right? Different measuring sticks, maybe actually using GPT, but then having them analyze and evaluate and compare and contrast results and things like that to help them think critically about it. And we'll talk about that in future modules. But all that being said, your reflection pieces from Module 1 so far have been great, and I really appreciate them. As we look ahead to this Sunday, what's due, and then next week. So this Sunday, obviously, you'll have lessons 3 and 4 in here, and those are generative AI technologies and then benefits and challenges. Make sure as you look through these that you interact with the content, because it's going to help inform the practice that we talk about in our obviously in our assignments. But if you look here at the generative AI technologies, we kind of break them down. We talk about them. We even talk about how they work. So make sure to watch these videos. It's kind of important. Again, I'll remind you that we actually used a tool here that allowed us to pull the key points from the video below with generative AI. So I thought that was kind of neat. But make sure that you watch the videos and read through the content, because it's going to be very informative when you think about moving through your activities later. So go through this module, go through Lesson 3 and Lesson 4, and do the interactive knowledge check. It's a fun way that we actually leveraged a little bit of generative AI to come up with a knowledge check for you. And then the assignment. So the assignment this week is we're actually taking it a little deeper. We want you to select from the list of these case studies, right? And then analyze or showcase how they affect how generative AI in those case studies affected education, right? We want you to identify key takeaways and potential implications when you look at these, right? So choose one of these three, and then obviously, follow those instructions. So it really helps. If you think about it, we actually talk about the state of AI. We think about the technology underneath it. And then the benefits and the challenges. So we're pulling together the objectives from the unit into this activity. So we want you to take a look at these case studies and then analyze the impact of them and identify some takeaways as well as some implications, honest implications too, about each of these. So make sure to get that done by the 13th, which is this Sunday. Next week, we start going into the ethical considerations, and that's important, right? Whoops, and that's not what I wanted to open. again, I'm clicking the wrong thing, guys. I'm sorry. So next week we get into the ethical consideration of this kind of wonderful stuff, and then we actually go through and look at. We'll have an ethical dilemma analysis discussion where we'll actually discuss some of this stuff. So take a look at this unit. I really like this unit in specific because there are ethical issues around the use of AI, and it's important that we pay attention to them. So the big one I can think of right off the bat, and I was just at a conference this week, was bias, right? For example, asking AIs to talk about providing letters of recommendation for a man or a woman for a job. They found in some cases, for instance, that the letters of recommendation would paint women more around attitude than work rather than the work. Right, those types of things, and the reason that bias is there is because the bias is inherent in things that have been published, and so the AI is just pulling from that. So as you think about the use of AI, it's going to be super important from a prompt writing standpoint that we make sure to filter out that kind of noise and make sure to be explicit with our expectations about what the bias is when we do these types of activities, and make sure we can recognize it. So anyway, that being said, I think the ethical unit is really good, and I hope you enjoy it. But that will be due next Sunday. But remember, for this Sunday, it's the it's Module 1, Lessons 3 and 4, and the activity is the case study analysis. Now, let's get into some fun stuff, shall we? So last week we talked about how to create, if you will, your modules, to your containers in your course. Now we're going to get into, okay, that's nice. What about images? How can I add images? So that's a great question. When I think about images, there are multiple places that I can place images in my course. And when those places exist, traditionally it's been my job as the instructor to go and find images or create images. And sometimes it's like jumping through hoops. Can I use this image? Is it legal for me to use this image because it's somebody else's work? All of those types of things, right? So one of the things that we can do is we can start with your banner. If I go down in my course and I go to my course image, which shows up in my details and actions menu, I can then choose to do a banner, right? So I can click on my little image button right here, and it will bring up this page where I can choose some options here. And one is to upload from a device. The other one is stock images from Unsplash. I really like stock images from Unsplash because Unsplash is a site that we've always had as a resource and told faculty about. But they'd have to go to the website, find it, agree to the thing, download the image, then bring the image. Blackboard is partnered with Unsplash to allow you to get the image that you want, right? So that is kind of nice, right? So let's, instead of writing, I could choose writing, for instance, and for composition, right? I can choose any one of these things. So in this case, I might choose this one. The things that it picks out are picked out by what you search. And so in this case, I chose, I instead of composition one, I just chose writing. And I've got this picture here, and I'm going to choose next. And it's okay, Jacob, that's nice. So how much of this image do you want to show in your course? So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to do this much of the image because the banner is narrow and long, and I'm going to choose save. Now, it pulls the image in. I can then, as a good person who does keep in mind universal design for learning principles and accessibility, I will actually describe this image for my students. Student working at a desk, writing a paper using a pen. That kind of a thing, right? And so that's my image. It's not only has the image there, it lets me come in and it's my course banner, and it's also my course image card. And that's fine. I want those options. If I wanted to find a different image, if I didn't like that one, I'd just go right back to my little image icon up here and select a new one. But now I'll hit save. And all it took for me was that. I didn't have to create the image on my own. I did not have to go and find it. I was easily inside Blackboard able to get to all that and put it in there. So just an example of how that might work for you. Now, there are other areas that this can be a thing, right? So let's look here. Here we have Introduction to First Year Composition. You'll notice that it had the image. Remember, when we created the modules, it automatically created some images for us. However, I may not have liked those. So I'm going to edit this module. And to edit the module, you simply go to the three dots on the right-hand side of it. And editing that learning module takes me to this particular place. Now, it's currently hidden from students, and that's okay. But down here is where I can come in and change the image. Currently, it's this image. So if I choose my image option, it now gives me some options here that I can choose from. One is upload from device, stock images from Unsplash, and one is generate. So if I choose generate images, and this is the Introduction to First Year Composition in my Composition 1 course, it's going to say, okay, I'm going to pull from the course title and possibly a little bit from the module title and generate these images for you. Now, these images will, as with all things generative AI, it's always better to add more context and detail, right? So in this case, you're going to see these images and they're a little burdensome, right? This is not exactly what I want. So instead of, I want to be like picture of one student writing a paper, right? Maybe I'll be a little bit more descriptive and see if that works. The technology behind the images, which I think in this case is WAL E3, is not perfect. And sometimes it's finding the right set of words to get us where we want in terms of generating the image. Short of that, it's going to pull from a title. So it's going to pull what it thinks you're trying to get to. So it's always better. Look at that, right? We're getting a little bit better. I might say no words might be helpful. But in this case, if I chose this one and hit next, I can make the image show up a little more and get rid of the text underneath it, right? So I've got that, and then I can hit save. And that might be more what I want, right? And so once I choose that image, I can come in and unmark it and be like image of student writing paper in class. Or student writing in class, whatever I wanted, and then hit save. Now, I could have also used Unsplash there, just like I did for my course banner. But notice how I got that image, how I got past the bundles of students, which it first showed me, right? Is I had to be explicit in what I wanted in that description. And so that's a best practice for you when you think of generative AI in the first place, is really good explicit expectations, right? Letting them know, letting the tool know what you're looking for. So it's not just giving you what it thinks, right? And so that's one place you can do it. That's not the last place you can do this. Any place that I can add an image, I can have it do one of these options. So I'm going to add a document here, right? And I'm going to have a little fun and go to really quick the lorem ipsum generator, and I'm going to grab some text. Boom. All right, that's done. So I'm going to go to my content, bring it in, and it traces it as gray. So I'm going to change that and clean it with my little formatting eraser, so to make it that way, right? So now I want to have another image that I want to show up to the right of this image. So I'm going to go to my content again and click content. And I'm going to come here and choose the image, right? Now, I have options. I can upload from device, stock images from Unsplash, or generate images, right? So if I choose stock images from Unsplash and change my source to be composition book, boom, this might be more of what I want, right? Or not, but I can actually go through and look through what they've got here in terms of what I want, right? And that may not be exactly what I need, but it's going to give me options to choose from. And I can then change up what I want based upon what I type in there, right? So I could come back here, and instead of that, I could choose generate image, composition, and I could choose composition book, and then hit generate, and it's going to generate that. But so you're just seeing that I can bring in these images or create these images based upon what I want, not what I can find. So what composition book will do is we'll bring in some dun dun dun. I like that one. So we'll do this one, right? You know, why it has an award with it, I don't know. That's awesome. Let's see what I can do with that, right? So I'm going to bring it. There we go. And I'll hit next. So it's now, I might call this one the composition book, and view only, and save. So now I've got this particular dude right here, and it's, you know, it's given me a little bit more than I want in terms of the size, but that's okay. I'll show you what I can do with that. So here I want to take this image and I'm going to drag it up and to the right, and boom, it's right there for me. So I actually can then come in and add a little content in this box to go with it, right? You know, and I might come in and have a list, you know, 1, 2, 3, and then I might have a little bit more text underneath, right? And boom, I have now put together something a little, and I'm going to delete that extra space right there. I now have something more along the lines of what I want. But you can see anywhere that I add an image in my Blackboard course, I can either choose to upload that image, I can choose to get it from Unsplash, or I can choose to generate that image. This makes, if I were to put an image in a discussion prompt, in a test question, in an assignment prompt, in a document, anywhere I can add that image, I will have the option to create that image or to generate that image based upon an upload, my AI generator, or Unsplash's website. So I hope this next little part of getting images in your course and making those a little bit easier for you to deal with can be helpful for you. As always, we're here for you. Should you need any help, feel free to reach out to us. We hope you have a great day and a really good weekend. Y'all take care.